So the other week I was perusing eBay for Disney pin deals, as I often do, and I came across an auction for something that I thought was pretty cool and interesting. So I came across a listing for one of these create your own Disney pin display kits. I want to make very clear right now, this is not an item that you can currently find in the parks. From what I could see on PinPics, it seems like this and other similar ones were maybe released around 2011. So I guess this is what you could call more of a vintage Disney pin item, but if anybody does know when these were sold in the parks, I'd be really interested. I ended up being the only bidder on this auction and I won it for $4.99, so I think that was a pretty good deal. And I thought it would just be really fun to kind of check out, try and put this together, and then also see how easy it would be to DIY something like this yourself. And then also see if this is something that like Disney should kind of bring back in the parks, if they should bring back more pin related merch like this. So you can see this is a create your own pin display kit, which includes a decorative mat, foam backer card, and instructions. And this is a Disneyland version. I did see one where there was a Mickey Mouse cutout, but it's neat that you have the cutout silhouette of Sleeping Beauty's castle. And then this just seems to give you the idea of what you're supposed to do, which I guess is basically just stick your pins on it and then put this cover back on. So these are the instructions it ever so graciously comes with, which are pretty simple. So number one, collect your favorite pins. For this, I'm probably actually not going to follow that instruction. I spent too long reorganizing my pin board, so I think I'm just going to use my trader pins, so they're not going to be my favorites. But then number two, arrange on a foam backer to show within the cutout mat, secure with adhesive, and then place in an 8x10 by 0.5 frame and enjoy. And I think I have a frame that size. And then this here is the other Mickey Mouse cutout design I did see on some other eBay listings, but everything else was more expensive and there really wasn't much offered. What's interesting is this had a retail price of $19.95, and especially if this was offered a number of years ago, that's a very expensive price for just like a piece of foam and a kind of cutout cardboard. So I'm much happier that I got this at only the $5. So I guess we'll just take this out now. I think it's just the foam in there and the cardboard. So I guess there isn't really too much of a kit to it. So you do get a pretty nice thick piece of foam. This feels exactly like a slightly softer version of the pages used for the Crack and Trade pin books. So if you do have any pin page inserts from Crack and Trade or Folio, those would probably work just as well. The Folio front page inserts are textured, but you could use the back side if you do want something that's nice and flat and smooth. So right now I'm wondering like what in the world made this kit retail for $20? Like where is the value? You can see this was what they used as the little faux display with all the pins. So this is almost actually kind of like neat artwork to keep. A little fun decorative snapshot of pins. And then it's just this Disneyland Sleeping Beauty castle cutout. I don't have a Cricut machine, but if you do have a die cut machine, it would probably be super easy to make something like this yourself. So you could come up with any type of design you wanted. I could probably still make this by hand and cut it out with an X-Acto knife, but since it has a castle design with the little flags and turrets, it would be a little bit more difficult, so I guess it is nice to have this. But really the kit is just like you have your foam, you stick the pins in, and then this goes on top. So let's move the camera around so we can do a little POV and then put in some decorative pins on here. Okay, so I lied about what I was gonna do. I decided to not just like take, some random trader pins, but I did in fact go and collect a whole bunch of my smaller size little sweets and snacks pins. Most of these are hidden Mickey pins. So I figured, hey, if we're gonna do this create your own display kit, I might as well try my best to actually make it a little bit visually interesting. And I think doing this will work pretty well with these small pins. And you know how I love my park sweets and treats. So I just collected them from my pin board on my Folio stick sheet. And really you could get away with just using this, but we're gonna go ahead with our official little sheet. And I guess we'll just kind of go ahead and start sticking pins around. So of course, churro pin is gonna be the first one right in the center because nothing tops a good churro. And I guess I'm just gonna kind of just randomly take different pins, put some sort of different colors together, some different shapes. A lot of these are basic Mickey shapes since most of them are from the Hidden Mickey pin sets, but I have a pretty good variety, I think, and I guess we'll just kind of see how this looks, see how many pins I can fit on here. I'm just right now going to do a quick flip and shake test. So the pins do not come out of this, although this is softer material. So it doesn't feel like it has a great hold on the pins, but it's definitely good enough for these purposes. So onward we go, just sticking more and more cute little food pins in here. And I think probably from this point on, I'm just gonna do a little time lapse so we can speed up this process and then see what this full finished page looks like. Okay, so I think that's just about all the pins I can fit on here. And there's definitely going to be a lot of these that aren't going to be seen at all, I guess, because the castle kind of just occupies this center and lower part. The one thing that I don't know if it'll throw it off is I do have a number of pins that have this rubberized 3D or 3D element. That's a really cute set from Shanghai Disneyland. So I don't know kind of like how flush this top part needs to be. So I guess we'll just see. This is kind of all this kit entails. So I guess, yeah, you just kind of like plop it down on there and that's it. You know, I think the thing is with this, to make it look like anything or look better, you kind of really need to have the pins almost on top of themselves. There ends up being a lot of just free dead space here. And so it's kind of a waste to even put any pins in that corner because they're just so far up and away and you don't see them all. So with this as a guide, I might try and do just like moving them a little bit closer together just to try and get rid of some of that blank space. So I guess if we have them just like super close, basically touching, hopefully that'll end up looking a little bit better. But then it becomes very difficult space-wise to like try and jigsaw fit every one of these in. All right, well, let's just see again how that looks. So that does look better, I guess. But so here's the problem with this. So on this sheet that they give you, you know, they obviously have pins running off the edge, which you can't do if you do want to put this in a frame. So since there's like so little give there, it's kind of hard to get that amount of clustering. I think another problem with this is that maybe it would have been better for me to just kind of take random trader pins because a lot of these pins are very similar in shape. A lot of them are kind of the Mickey heads. So actually this could turn into a pretty difficult, interesting puzzle to try and find pieces that like fit perfectly in the small little spaces in between everything. But hey, I guess we'll call this good enough for now. The other thing that would be the difficult part is how exactly would you go about adhering this? The instructions just say secure with adhesive. You'd almost have to use kind of like double-sided foam tape because the pins themselves aren't flat, so it's just a little bit more difficult. And then I also think you can't do any like 3D pins that are kind of like on the cusp because they protrude up even more. But I do have this frame here, which I think should be close to the right size. I think it's actually going to be a little bit too big, but this is kind of like more of a standard size frame. But I don't know. The only way we can see is to try it out. Just kind of place that in there. So yeah, this does not fit in. It fits in like total height wise there, but obviously there's quite a big gap around. Let me actually try to put this back on the correct way. Flip it around. And so this frame does work out this dimension wise. It does fit the pins in there, but it kind of turns out looking very lame. I don't know, I'd have to check if like 8 by 10 by ½ an inch frames are a really common size or not. I'm pretty sure this frame is sized to around an 8.5 by 11, just standard paper size. But I think any DIY version would be better than this like actual Disney made and retailed for $20 version. I also think part of the problem is just the choice of the design of the castle isn't as conducive to being able to nicely show off pins. I think it'd be much better like having it the one where it's the full Mickey or even at least the Mickey Mouse head. And while although I don't think I would like to see this particular product sold in the parks again, I still think it would be interesting to see something similar, a little updated, elevated, or at least kind of more pin related merchandise like this. So this is the final result of my kind of poorly looking create your own Disney pin display kit. I think there's been a lot of pin innovation, especially by small shops in the years since this was released. So I think it would end up being way easier and look a lot better if you could create your own version. So at least I think I got like $5 worth of fun out of this. But like, wow, this set retailed for $20 in the parks. Well, anyways, I hope you enjoyed my kind of sad looking create your own Disney pin display. I do think most things you DIY would probably end up looking a little bit better than this, and there are things that are probably better fit to a more standard frame size. But thanks for watching!